Hello, my name is Kate, and welcome to the Local History of Northern Kentucky on our YouTube channel. Today we're going to take a glimpse into some of our musical history through photos from the library's Faces and Places database. And the first set of pictures that we have here are pictures of the Kazakhstan Chamber Orchestra performing for the congregation of the Erlanger Baptist Church. And this was in May of 1992. And this was part of a cultural exchange program where more than 300 people were visiting 11 states during a 2-week period. And prior to the performance, the congregation at the Erlanger Baptist Church shared a meal with members of the orchestra. And here on the left is a picture of John Hughes playing the violin, and he was 17 at the time this picture was taken in March of 1980. And there on the right is Vladimir Lukashuk, who was playing the violin in 1982. And while he played the violin, he also played many other string instruments as well, and he has a very interesting story. He was born in Michigan to immigrant parents who were members of the Ukrainian Mandolin Orchestra, and some of his earliest memories were learning to play the mandolin, and he was taught to play with Ukrainian folk songs. And Lukashuk, who lived in Erlanger, he celebrated his 30th year with the Cincinnati Symphony Orchestra in 1982, and that was when this photo was taken. So he attended the University of Michigan at Ann Arbor, and he earned his music degree on the violin there, and it was also there that he met his wife Betty. So he continued with music, and then World War II arrived, and he was sent to the Great Lakes Naval Training Station near Chicago. And at this time, the military was forming a band out of Iowa City, and it was called the Pre-Flight Band, and they had one opening, and it was for a viola player. And he had learned to play the instrument at the University of Michigan, so he auditioned for the role, and he made the band and eventually was transferred to the San Diego Naval Base in preparation for sea duty. But then they found out that he also played the violin, so they kept him there in the band. And then in July of 1945, he was sent to Washington, D.C., and he was assigned to the USS Augusta, which was carrying President Harry Truman to the Potsdam Conference in Germany. And during this trip, he would play in the orchestra every day for the president and others that he was dining with. And in an interview, Lukashuk recalled that President Truman would shake their hands every day and that he was very down to earth. And so after leaving the Navy, he moved to California with his wife Betty, who had been teaching the piano in her home state of Iowa. And while he was there, he had a number of different roles. He earned a spot in the Hollywood Bowl Orchestra. He also played for the Los Angeles Philharmonic and in the House Orchestra for Universal Pictures. And he played on the radio for different festivals and also at the Easter Sunrise service at Forest Lawn Cemetery. He also earned a master's degree from the University of Southern California on the viola while he was living there. And so around 1952, Thor Johnson, who was his instructor from the University of Michigan, he was staying with Lukashuk and his wife, and he asked him to join him in Cincinnati because Johnson was the conductor of the Cincinnati Symphony, and he hesitated, but he agreed to it with the deal that Johnson would help him with his conducting. And so he joined the first violin section, and he stayed there for 26 years, and he performed with the Cincinnati Symphony at Carnegie Hall. And in interviews, he would list Mozart as one of his favorite composers. And he also taught string instruments at Northern Kentucky University. And along with his love of music, he enjoyed gardening and planting vegetables behind his brick home in Erlanger. And he retired after 37 years with the Cincinnati Symphony Orchestra. And here at the top left is Julie Van Daren, and she was a sophomore at Dixie Heights High School in 1973, and she is playing the piccolo and was practicing for an upcoming football halftime ceremony. And on the right, student Monica Brickler of Newport is holding up her flute while helping out another band member during practice in 1971. We have a couple more band pictures here. On the left is Gerald Moore, and he's warming up on the tuba just before going on field for a competition with the Holmes High School Band. And this was at Campbell County High School during the Battle of the Bands, where 22 bands were competing. And so on the right is Bill Ashcraft of the Beechwood High School Marching Band playing his tuba during practice. And that picture was also taken at the Battle of the Bands event in 1981. And this is a photo of Diane Jennings with her guitar. And this picture was taken in 1981 as well. And it was prior to a concert that she had done at the Cathedral Basilica of the Assumption. And during this program, she played contemporary pop music with operatic baritone Andrew White, classical harpist Linda Wellbaum, and the 45-voice Cumberland College Chorale. And this concert was to benefit victims of the earthquake that had occurred in southern Italy a couple of months prior. And Jennings, who was an accomplished singer and guitarist, she'd been blind since shortly before she was born, since shortly after she was born prematurely. And she said that she would gauge her performances by the audience's reactions to what she was doing. And along with working both as a solo performer and as a member of a soul gospel group, she worked at the Center Civic Opera as their program director, and she arranged rehearsal schedules and performances, and would also write press releases for the company. And this is M.L. Parker, who worked for the city of Lexington, and he found a guitar during a volunteer cleanup effort after the Falmouth tornado in the spring of 1968, and he sat down to play. And these photos are of Nancy Jordan Blackmore, a singer-songwriter from Verona, and she spent time in Nashville singing country music and recording the music, starting her own record label called Thoroughbred Records. And the photo on the top right, on the right, is from 1985 when she wrote a jingle for Mothers Against Drunk Driving. And she recorded the jingle for free and wanted to get local radio stations to play the tune as a public service announcement in hopes of saving lives. And these photos are from October of 1986 and were taken at New Haven School. And she was leading the sixth graders in rehearsing a song called Talk to Me that she composed as a song of peace to try to reach out and build understanding between Russian children and children in the United States. And at the time, her son Brett was in this class, and she wanted to do the project because she believed it was a good project for her son and his classmates as well. And she said that the more that neighbors know about each other, the less likely they are to fight. So the song was recorded, and the kids wrote letters to children in the Soviet Union to accompany the audio and videotapes. And when the Russian media found out about the project through the children writing letters. They came to Union to do a video about the school, the town, and Blackmore. And politicians, teachers, and parents came to the school to welcome the group, and they videotaped the students singing, and the footage appeared on Russian television, and it also went out to other Eastern European countries as well. And the photo at the bottom shows 6th grader Kelly Sutter welcoming Soviet journalist Vladimir Lukashuk with a bouquet of pink carnations, white roses, and baby's breath. And he's also pictured at the top right laughing with Nancy Jordan Blackmore. And joining Vadim was Yevgeny Sveshnikov, who's pictured in the top photo with his camera. And in the background, Channel 5 cameraman Tom Stewart was filming him. And at one point during the event, when he was setting up his camera, Sveshnikov was trying to locate an electrical outlet, so he turned to Channel 5 videographer Tom Stewart, and he introduced himself as Eugene, which was the English translation of Yevgeny, and he asked for help, and Stewart jumped in and helped eagerly. And Vadim is also pictured holding up his microphone as the students sang, and he was recording it for people back home. And state and county officials presented Sveshnikov and Lukashenko with gifts including plaques, a paperweight, a proclamation, a 14-pound country ham, and a coonskin cap. And this is a picture of Nancy Jo Grobmeyer in 1991. In her professional life, she was a private piano and voice teacher in Carrollton, and many of her students became musicians in their professional lives. And in 1973, she was the first woman elected to serve on the Carrollton City Council. And this photo shows 11-year-old Stacy DeArmey of Covington at the piano, and she was playing the Steinway during the American Music Scholarship's 26th International Piano Competition, and this was in Cincinnati. And she was one of 13 Northern Kentucky piano students between the ages of 7 and 14 who performed in the competition. And many of the performers were students of piano teacher Betty Lukashuk of Erlanger, the wife of violin player Vladimir Lukashuk from a few slides previous. And this photo here is of A.J. Jolly's family, and this was taken as part of a series that the Kentucky posted in 1966 called Jolly the Candidate. And at the time, he was the Campbell County Administrator and was hoping to be Lieutenant Governor. And he's pictured here with his wife Verna, who's sitting at the piano, and then their 5 daughters. Susan and Jennifer are with the guitars. Leslie is at the piano with her mother. Janice is to the left of AJ, and Karen is in front of Janice. And here, Hazel Jones is playing the piano for residents of Grand Towers, a place where over 200 Newport seniors called home, and they're joining in for an impromptu sing-along. And this was from February 1973. And then on the right, Bob Ripberger is playing the piano at Ridgeview Nursing Home. On the left, Jeff Clayton is pictured here playing his saxophone at NKU. And this photo is from 1992. And Jeff and his brother, who was bassist John Clayton, they were jazz musicians, and they played with the Northern Kentucky High School Honor Jazz Band at NKU, and this was part of the Marsh series, which spotlights professional African American musicians, composers, and performers. And at the time, John Clayton had performed on 40 albums, including a Natalie Cole album, and Whitney Houston had performed his arrangement of the Star-Spangled Banner at Super Bowl 25 in Tampa in 1991. And Jeff Clayton had recently returned from a world tour with the Philip Morris Super Band. And while the Claytons were here, they conducted a 2-week residency of classes and workshops at high schools and colleges throughout the Cincinnati area. And then there on the right is Todd Mullins, and he was 11 at the time, and he was practicing the saxophone in his 7th grade band at Dixie Heights School. And this last photo is undated, but was taken here at the Covington Library, and kids were taking part in a sing-along program. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to stop by our Faces and Places database at facesandplaces.kentonlibrary.org, and you can browse through our collection of over 119,000 pictures. And if you have any questions, please stop by the local history and genealogy department. Give us a call at 859-962-4070 or send us an email at history@kentonlibrary.org. Thanks.